Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Before we start learning the translation of the Holy Quran, there is one important instruction that and commandment of Allah the Almighty that I need to sort of remind ourselves. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The commandment of Allah the Exalted is whenever we are reciting the Holy Quran, Allah the Almighty says, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And when thou recitest the Quran, seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected. So whenever we start reciting the Holy Quran, recitation of the Holy Quran, it is mandatory upon us to start with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So keeping this commandment in mind, now we will learn the translation of ta'awuz, and that is A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. A'udhu means I seek refuge. A'udhu, I seek refuge. Billahi, in Allah. Billahi, in Allah. Bi and Allah. These are two words. Bi means with or in. Allah means Allah, the name of Allah. Min, from. Min, from. Ash-shaytan, Satan. Ash-shaytan, Satan. Ar-rajim, the accursed one, or the rejected. The accursed or the rejected. So the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that the Arabic language is mother of all languages. And we see a glimpse of it here. Ash-shaytan, Satan, shaitan, Satan. How closely they sound to one another. So again, this comes from directly from Arabic. Again, I will just repeat one more time. A'udhu, I seek refuge. Billahi, bi is one word, and the other is Allah. Bi, which means with or in. In Allah, min, from. Ash-shaytan, Satan. It's actually al and shaitan. Ash-shaytan, the Satan. Ar-rajim, again two words, al and rajim, which means the accursed or the rejected. So the translation would be, in the name, I seek refuge in Allah from Satan the rejected. So today we will be, as I indicated, we will be starting with Surah Al-Fatihah. And before we go start talking about, start learning the translation of Surah Al-Fatihah, let's go over some of the names of Surah Al-Fatihah and why it's called Surah Al-Fatihah. So there are different names we can find from either from the Holy Quran or from the ahadith or the sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first is the name is Alhamd, which means the praise. Al means the, Hamd means praise, because it contains the praise of Allah the Almighty. That's why it's called Alhamd, the praise. We'll go into details about that as well. Then it's also called As-Salah. As-Salah, which means the prayer. Why it's called a prayer? Because we recite this particular prayer in every rakah of our prayer or salat. That's why it's called As-Salah. Excuse me. The other name of this chapter of the Holy Quran is Ummul Kitab. Means mother. Al-Kitab means book. Ummul Kitab, the mother of the book. Because it contains many, contains the subject matter of the entire Holy Quran. And then, I know all the books. Then Ummul Qur'an, mother of the Quran, has many, all the subjects have been summarized in the Surah Al-Fatihah. Then in the Holy Quran, chapter 15, verse 87, it's also called Sabah Masani, Sabah al-Masani, which means 7 verses which are repeated often, which are repeated, 7 repeated once. So these verses, Surah Al-Fatihah contains 7 verses, and these verses are repeated. How they're repeated? Because we recite them in our prayer and they are repeated, oft repeated. Then Ash-Shifa, the cure. There is a hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and which approves in which the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam approves this name, that some people would recite Surah Al-Fatihah and blow over water and give it to a person who is sick or bitten by any snake or anything for that matter, and having that water, it's will cure that person. And many a times, many Muslims all across the world have experienced this. So that's why it's called Ash-Shifa, the cure. It's also called Al-Fatihah, which means the opening chapter. Surah Al-Fatihah, the opening chapter of the Holy Quran. So this was just a little introduction of the names of Surah Al-Fatihah. Today, as I indicated, we will be going through the mean translation of Surah Al-Fatihah. So first of all, what does Surah mean? Surah means chapter. Surah means chapter. Starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Like I said earlier on, Bismi has 2 in the same thing in Billah. Also in Bismillah, there are 2 words, Bi and Ism. Bi means with or in. Ism means name. Be with or in. Ism, name. Allah, Allah. Ar-Rahman. Allah is being defined here. Who is Allah? Ar-Rahman, the gracious. Ar-Rahim, the merciful. Ar-Rahman, the gracious. Ar-Rahim, the merciful. So these are 2 attributes of Allah the Almighty, and it is the first verse of Surah Al-Fatihah. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. Now, then the second verse, Alhamdu, all, Hamdu, praise. Alhamdu, all praise or all kind of praise. Lillahi, again, Lillahi, 2 words, Li and Allah. Li is for, Allah is Allah. Lillahi, for Allah. Rabbil Alameen. Rabbi, Lord. Al-Alameen, all the worlds. All the worlds. So here, Al also means the, and also means all as well. So Al-Alameen, all the worlds. Then again, so Allah is being defined here and being praised here. And Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, which is being repeated here, the gracious, the merciful. Maliki, master. Yawmiddin, Yawmiddin. Yawmi, day. Ad-Din, judgment. Maliki Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment. Okay, I want to stop here and we will just talk a little bit more about this. Now, excuse me. So in this, the promised Messiah, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, has mentioned the first 4 verses of Surah Al-Fatihah deals with Allah the Almighty. Allah is being defined here, and these are 4 chief attributes which are being mentioned here. Rabbul Alameen, 1 chief attribute. Ar-Rahman, the 2nd chief attribute. Ar-Rahim, the 3rd. and Maliki Yawmiddin is the fourth attribute of Allah the Almighty. So these are chief attributes of Allah the Almighty. All other attributes, they fall under these four attributes of Allah the Almighty. Either they relate to Rabbul Alameen or Ar-Rahman or Ar-Rahim or Maliki Yawmiddin. So these are Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of all the worlds, Lord of all the worlds, and Ar-Rahman, the gracious, Ar-Rahim, the merciful, master of the day of judgment. So in these first four verses, Allah the Almighty speaks about His being, who Allah is, and four chief attributes have been mentioned in these verses of the Holy Quran. So Rabbul Alameen deals with Allah's being the provider of the entire universe, all the alameens, all the worlds. Then Ar-Rahman is the gracious, which means that Allah Ta'ala rewards us without us even asking or doing anything. So Ar-Rahman is His Rahm or graciousness that does not require any action on our part. Ar-Rahim, on the other hand, is Allah's mercy, but it has to do with the action of prayer or prayers of a human being. So we needed sun, but this comes under Allah's graciousness. Sun was needed for the life here on earth. Allah Ta'ala provided sun. So that falls under His graciousness. Ar-Rahim is whenever we do any action, and then the result of that falls under Allah's attribute of Ar-Rahim. Then Maliki Yawmiddin is Allah is the master of the day of judgment. These are four attributes which are being mentioned here. So the running translation would be, in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, the gracious, the merciful, master of the day of judgment. Now, the next half of Surah Al-Fatihah deals with human being. First verse with regards to that is, Allah says, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. So Allah Ta'ala has taught us this prayer. What we should be praying? We should be praying, Iyyaka, alone you. Iyyaka, alone you. Na'budu. Na means we. Abudu, worship. Na'budu, we worship. Iyyaka na'budu, alone you, we worship. Va, and Iyyaka, wa, and Iyyaka, alone you, Iyyaka, alone you, nasta'in, we implore for help. We implore for help. Nasta'in, we implore for help. Now, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, Ihdi, guide us, or Ihdina, you guide us. Ihdina, you guide us. Ihdi, you guide, na, us, as-sirata, the path. As-sirata, the path. Al-Mustaqim, the right, the straight, the right, the straight. So you guide us on the right path, the straight path. Sirat al-ladhina, sirata, path, which is being repeated. Al-ladhina, those. An'amta, you bestowed your blessings. An'amta, you bestowed your blessing. alayhim, upon them, on them. Ghairi, not, al-maghdubi, those incurred your displeasure. It's from ghadaba, maghdubi alayhim, those incurred your displeasures upon them, alayhim, upon them. Wala, and not, ad-dallin, those who have gone astray. Those who have gone astray. Now, let's go over the running translation, and then we will talk about this part, second half of Surah Al-Fatihah. Iyaka nabudu wa iyaka nasta'in, you alone do we worship, and you alone do we implore for help. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim, guide us on the right path. Guide us in the right path. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your blessings. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin, and those who have incurred your displeasure and those who have not gone astray. So in the previous part, this first part, it was speaking about Allah the Almighty, this chapter. Now, the second part is speaking about human being. And the first thing that we have been taught is to say that we only worship Allah. It speaks about the oneness of Allah the Almighty, and He's only worthy of worship. And then we're saying, wa iyyaka nasta'in, and we only ask Allah for help. What kind of help we're asking for? The best thing is that we have been taught in the Holy Quran and by the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we should be more worried about our life to come. As the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned, that my life here on earth is just like a person who is traveling, and he takes a little break under the shade of a tree, and then after a little while he goes on. So his rest under the shade of the tree is that life here on earth. So what kind of help we are asking for? We are asking for the help in this life, that Allah Ta'ala guides us on the right path. This is the meaning. We should be more worried about our spirituality, about our hereafter, as indicated by the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in this hadith. And then, what kind of path we should be asking Allah the Almighty? Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, path of those on whom that Allah has bestowed His blessings. And what kind of blessings are those? The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that Allah Ta'ala speaks of these blessings in another verse of the Holy Quran, that Allah Ta'ala makes us amongst the prophets, the Siddiqeen, the truthful, the Shuhada, the martyrs, and Salihin, the Salihs, the righteous people. So these are the four type of people that we should be looking for, that we're asking Allah Ta'ala that make us one of these people. And then we're all at the same time, we're asking Allah Ta'ala to protect us, that we don't go astray. Especially two people, those who have incurred Allah's displeasure. Why they incurred Allah's pleasure? Because Allah blessed them so much in terms of world, as well as spiritually speaking. Allah Ta'ala sent prophets one after the other for their guidance and reformation, but they continued denying the prophets, and they became the maghdub. They incurred Allah's displeasure. Is referring to the Jews here. And then we're at the same time, we're asking Allah Ta'ala to protect us, that we don't go astray, though we don't go on that path that lead us to that 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 we go astray. So who are those people who have gone astray? It is those people who were sent by who Allah Ta'ala sent his chosen prophet, but they gave him such a high status that they made him a son of God, meaning the Christians. The Christian made a humble human being into God, and they have gone astray because of that. So we are asking Allah Ta'ala to protect us against these two kind of paths. So this is in brief the commentary of Surah Al-Fatihah, and the translation of this of word to word, as well as the running translation. I'll just one more time, I will read out the translation. Please follow me. And we will conclude the class after this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise belong to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the gracious, the merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Alone you we worship, and alone you we seek for help, we implore for help. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, guide us on the right path, the straight path. Sirat al-ladhina namta alayhim, path of those you bestowed your blessings upon them. And غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, not of those people who have, those who incurred your displeasure, and not of those who have gone astray. Jazakumullahu ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.